The member for Mount Pearl Southlands.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and certainly is a pleasure to stand in this honourable House once again today and speak to Bill 22, an Act to amend the Revenue Administration Act. Mr. Chair, as has already been explained, this is about raising taxes on tobacco, and I think, as other members have said, certainly when we look at all of the tax increases, we look at all the fee increases, of course we know we're going to be people are going to be hit with with the HST increase. We're going to have income tax increases. There's going to be a levy. There's going to be a gas tax. Pretty much every fee we can imagine is going to be raised. And but when you look at the various taxes and fees that are going to be raised, I think everybody would agree, and it's already been said, that when it comes to the sin taxes, is what we call them, whether it be alcohol, tobacco, and so on, I think that all members in this honourable House, and I think members of the general public in general, would agree that if we're going to go down that road of taxation, that this is probably one of the better ways to go. Now, obviously, if you're a smoker, you're not going to be too happy about this increase, and everybody understands that, and we all understand that smoking is an addiction. People don't necessarily choose to smoke. I suppose they choose initially, but after a period of time you become addicted and so on, and even though it's doing harm to your health, sometimes it's not easy to quit. I know, going back, that would be going back, let me see, 25 years ago now, since I smoked. But prior to that, I had smoked. And last going off, I was up to almost 3 packages a day on certain days. And so you'd just be lighting one off the other. So I know how, how that addiction can be. And, I tried different methods like everybody did to try to quit smoking with the patch and the menthol cigarettes and all these different things, but it didn't work. In the end, the only thing that really worked for me is one day I just had enough of this. I took them and I smoked one last cigarette, took what was left, balled them up, threw them in the garbage, and my colleague here from Mount Pearl North saying, then I switched to Lamb's Rum. But anyway, I took them, threw them in the garbage, and I never looked back. Thank goodness. We all know that cigarettes are bad for your health, and we all know that cigarettes are not only is it causing damage to the individual who's smoking and to people who are exposed to secondhand smoke. And thank goodness we've put laws in place now to prohibit that type of activity in restaurants and bars and public places and so on. But the additional piece to all this, and I think the real rationale for taxing the cigarettes, is the impact that it has on our healthcare system. Because when somebody decides that they're going to smoke or whatever, and if they do it certainly for a prolonged period of time, and they end up, over a period of time, they end up coming down with various diseases, and that we all know can cause heart disease and cancer and emphysema and COPD and all these different lung-related diseases for sure associated to smoking. Well, that's all costing everybody else money in the healthcare system. Because when those people have to receive treatment, when they have to go to doctor's appointments, when they have to, get medication, surgeries, time in the hospital, all of those associated things, all that bill is being footed by the taxpayer. So therefore, it's good to, try to prevent it, obviously, and I suppose taxation is one way to some degree to at least limit the amount of cigarettes that someone is prepared to pay. Well, that's certainly one thing we can do. But the other thing, of course, is it's important that we have smoking cessation programs and so on as well to try to break that habit. Because at the end of the day, the taxes that someone is paying on cigarettes, if they should come down with some sort of a critical illness, they'll never pay that money back in taxes. No matter how many cigarettes they smoke and how much tax they're paying on those cigarettes, I would say that if they came down with a critical illness, all the taxes they paid on those cigarettes wouldn't come close to paying back the healthcare system for all the costs that are going to be incurred with it. So, therefore, I think that's why most people recognise, that while nobody likes being taxed, and we don't like taxing people in general. If you're going to tax people on certain things, then this would be one that would be more palatable, more acceptable to the majority of Newfoundlanders, Labradorians. Like I said, if you're a smoker, perhaps you don't feel that way, but I think the rest of the people do feel that way. So, from that perspective, I will be supporting Bill 22. But, Mr. Speaker, of course we know this is just one. Well, there's another one because we already passed a bill earlier in the House that was going to increase some fees for businesses, and of course now this is another one today. This is another one we're doing now, and we know that there are going to be many other measures. And like I said, we already passed the gas tax, and we know that that 16.5 cents. We doubled the gas tax, and then not only is it 16.5 cents on a litre of gas, but then there's tax on that. There's tax on that, so it's probably closer to 19-20 cents that we taxed gas. And one question I would have for the Minister of Finance, and it's not really related to this bill, but it is a question I would have as it relates to the gas tax. Now, of course, we can talk about anything because this is a money bill, but if we're going to be taxing that additional 16.5 cents on gasoline, part of that 15% HST is federal. So it would seem to me that the federal government are capitalising on our austerity measures. Now, I stand to be corrected, and I'd love to be. I would love, I guess, for some clarification on that issue at some point in time. Maybe not on this bill, but on another bill, maybe on the budget. I don't know. But I just put it out there that it would seem that the federal government are going to capitalise on their share of the HST that's going on that 16.5 cents on gas. So I don't know how many litres of fuel are consumed in Newfoundland and Labrador in the run of a year. Maybe if George Murphy was still here, he could tell me for sure, because George was up on those things. But it would seem to me that the federal government stand to gain money off of the austerity measures being taken here in this particular case. So I would love to know what that money is, and if it's certainly something significant or whatever it is, I'd like then for our federal MPs to be lobbied to say, listen, you know, if it wasn't for these austerity measures, we never would have got that extra tax off that 16.5 cents of gas, and therefore we're going to return it to you because we're not taking austerity. The federal government is not taking austerity measures. Newfoundland and Labrador are taking austerity measures. So I would like to see that portion of the tax on gas that should be returned back to us from the federal government, or at least go against this repayment that we're going to have, this deferred repayment. We could do that, or they could simply return that money. Now, I have no idea what the math is on that and how much money it would be, but maybe it's enough money to keep the libraries open. I don't know. Maybe it's enough money to help offset the levy for everybody else. But I would throw it out there to the Minister of Finance that if she hasn't already thought of this, and I'm sure she has because she's a very intelligent person and she understands all this stuff, so I believe that probably she knows all this, and maybe this is nothing new, but I do want to get it on the record at least that on that 16.5 cents, the feds are getting their share of that 15% tax, and whatever that works out to be is doing nothing to help our situation. It's just putting more money in the federal coffers, and I think we should get it back. With that said, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to take my seat, Mr. Chair, take my seat, and if if somebody else wants to speak, obviously they will. Thank you.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and